Before we get started, anyone interested in ordering Mr. Lindell's 4-CD set, go to metaphysicalarttheater.com. For those in the U.S., you can order physical copies or the digital downloads. For those outside the U.S., you can order the digital downloads by going to metaphysicalarttheater.com.
How you doing, sir?
Hey, hello. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Ready to go?
Absolutely, ready to go. Hey, so today's topic, we want to talk about feel it real. You know, we talk about feeling is the secret. So would you agree that feeling is paramount when we're talking about manifesting?
Yes, it's life itself. Come on. You know, you made your own self. We're told that they themselves are makers of themselves. Now, speaking of this world, this drama, this play of humanity is real. That's real enough for the play, but we are directing it through choose this day. And that is what you're doing. That is your life. That is your experience. And I know I'm just throwing it all at you, but I want you to understand that you have a valid say. Isn't that right, DeCarlo?
It is right. It is right. So in that valid say, as we're saying whatever that valid say is, and many people wonder, well, what does that mean, a valid say? Whatever you're saying is a valid say with feelings. Is that correct?
That's right, because God gave you choose this day and choose your word wisely. Aren't we told that the fear of God is just knowing that he means what he says, and he's telling you that you're a maker of yourself? They themselves are makers of themselves. Whatever you are at this moment, you have made it through your own thinking and feeling. And in talking about real, look, this is a virtual reality. Everything here is real enough for the drama, the play of humanity. But it isn't reality, because all of this goes away, and reality never does. So it's always up to the individual, because that's the one who's experiencing life according to as you think you are. And there it's right with you right now. I am with you always. I will never leave you. Omnipresence. What more do you need to know to change your mind and change your world? Wouldn't you say?
I would. You know, you said whatever you're experiencing at this moment is what you've experienced because of you're feeling it real or giving it your thought attention. Would you agree?
That's it. As you think you are. It's really that simple, and yet it's so easily overlooked because, you know, we're told to be in the world but not to be of the world. And one way or another, you're always thinking upon what's going on around you rather than what's going on within you, because it's what you're doing within that winds up your without. So the without is secondhand. It was only new as you thought it up as an idea. And look, if you're dreaming up monsters that you can't handle, don't do that. Don't see things going wrong. Don't see this happening to you. Don't do that, because that's imagining what you're going to be experiencing. So, really, can't you think of something better, something lovely and of good report, as we're told that's what we're to think upon, and as you think you are? Doesn't that sound like a simple formula?
It does. You know, you made me think about, you know, you said whatever the person was experiencing is that's because of their previous thoughts. And it goes back to a talk I was listening to by Neville recently, where he had lost his luggage. And he was saying that he had set some precautions in place. He said, but because he set the precautions in place, he set up the vehicle to lose the luggage. Would you agree?
Yeah. You see, that's what you want to understand. Since you have a valid say, that means that everything you say is valid also. Because every word, I know I repeat this often, but it is so important. Every word is taken into culmination to make up your everyday experiencing. And you can check it out for yourself. You don't need to believe me. You don't need to believe Carlo. We're just here letting you know that you have a valid say. And if you won't test it to see how valid it is, well then, you're just denying yourself. And as we're told, all denial is self-denial. Isn't that the story?
It is a story. You said something that was key. You told the listener to test it for themselves. And I only bring that up because so many people, they listen to this broadcast, they listen to other broadcasts, they go from teacher to teacher, and they're looking for this new word. But what many of them are not doing is testing for themselves. Would you agree?
That's it. And all you have to do is take one area of your life and see yourself doing, being, and having what you would call your dream, if you have one. I hope you do. But it is what you're thinking feelingly about is being processed into your world of experiencing. So if you want to change something, you have to change your thinking ahead of the evidence. Because once you've said it, then the evidence is automatic. You see, that's something else they don't realize, is that it's all on automatic as you think you are. That's it. It's all on automatic. Wouldn't you say?
I would say, and I like that you said take one small area. I think that far too often we try to do this stuff, the big stuff first, and then we say it doesn't work. But try it in a small thing. Test it in a small area of your life, and what you'll discover is that it does work. Somebody tried the ladder technique, and she just imagined climbing a ladder. Now, she had a phobia of climbing ladders, so she really did not want to climb the ladder, as it were, but she woke up one evening and her husband had placed a ladder in her room, so it set the stage for her to do the ladder technique. But isn't that how mind works? We tell subconscious mind by what we're giving our attention to, what to manifest, and thus that's our reality. Would you agree?
That's it. That's it. That's just another way to explain the same thing that we've been explaining to them all along. What you're experiencing as your everyday life comes out of your own mouth, or it's thoughts that you're just roving around in your head that you're allowing to make your world of experiencing instead of directing. You see, that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn to direct our own conversations, because we're told that if a man would order his conversations aright, he would be shown salvation. And salvation is the answers you're looking for whatever. Wouldn't you say?
I would say, you're talking about ordering your own conversation. Many times people will inquire with me about dreams and so forth, but what they fail to take into account a lot of times is what they're thinking prior to going to sleep, and then they wonder why they have certain dreams or what they're watching before going to sleep. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think Neville covered that pretty good. You start off with just contemplating, and then if you do it long enough, you'll fall into meditating. And if you do that long enough, you'll fall into revelations. And that's what happens. It took me years to do that because, the general lazy-mindedness and double-mindedness and being of the world rather than just being in the world. But you can do this. It is a doable. That's what everybody wants to know, how to do, how to cause desired change. And it is with you all the time. But you must recognize it. It is yours, and I don't know what you're waiting for because I didn't know what I was waiting for either. But if you're just waiting and waiting and waiting, for what? It's as you think you are. So if you'll start ordering your conversations in accordance with your dreaming, because you are dreaming, but is it a nightmare? And if it is a nightmare, stop it. Start thinking different. It's all it is. It's you thinking feelingly is your world of experiencing. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. You stated earlier, you said, we're all operating on automatic. And what that comes down to, what you stated after that, was habits. Habits seem to rule us all. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, the thing of it is that you have to chop the heads off one at a time. You see, like we were talking about, you can't change the whole show overnight. You have to start somewhere. And starting, that is the secret. You have to start. If you don't start, you never finish, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You said something. You said, again, you went back to taking a small piece at a time, or chopping the heads of the serpents off at one at a time. I think that many people try to do so much at one time that they get into a state of overwhelm. Would you agree?
That's it. That's exactly. That's the dreaming of monsters, isn't it?
It is.
Well, but why sit around and dream up monsters? And anything that you're thinking about that has not yet happened, then it's you giving it the go-ahead. So if you're dreaming of something that you don't desire, you're giving it the go-ahead. Every time you think about it, you're giving it the go-ahead. And that go-ahead is your everyday experiencing, because it is with you. The ego wants to run the show. And believe me, he's pretty clever at getting the inroads to your mind. But it's you. It's you who has to really think about what you're saying to yourself, because your say is a valid say. And if you're thinking about it, then you're imagining it, and imagining creates the real in this drama man, this play of humanity. What are you allowing yourself to think about? And then it also told, blessed is the man that does not blame himself for that which he has allowed. In other words, just stop it. Turn around. A new life is right there with you where you are. He says, you turn to me, I'll turn to you. An invitation from God. And if God turns to you, what would be your problem? Wouldn't you say?
I would say. And you speak of the invitation as you have, previously. And I think that a lot of times we miss that invitation because we're looking for this cloud to open up in the sky and all these heavenly angels to start singing. And it's actually less complicated than that. And often it's just God tugging on the individual's heartstring. Would you agree?
Yes. It isn't the clouds opening. It's the Bible opening. Come on. All you have to do is just start reading it. You don't have to understand it. You just start reading it. And if you keep reading and you keep reading, and it doesn't make any sense until you give up. But if you'll proceed patiently, and being patient, that's a real challenge. I understand that. But if you will be patient with yourself and just keep reading, you'll understand what's being said. And if you understand it, that's the whole show. You get to understand it. You're given to understand it. God gave man choose this day. So he's operating with you because you know you're alive, and God is all life. As a matter of fact, there is only God, and that's all that's happening. He's playing all the parts, but he's allowing the individual to do the choosing of what they will be doing. And God says, I suffer with you, even though you behold me not. So he's right there with you, and he's doing what you're thinking feelingly about. And that's the whole secret. What are you thinking about? Stop thinking about something. Think from it. What you think from is what you're creating. What has your attention has your life. That's the story, isn't it?
It is the story. You're speaking about God living out through the individual, and it's funny because often when we're in mishap, we'll look this way and we'll look that way, and we'll see if man sees us, but we forget that God sees us. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, he knows what you have need of even before you ask. Even before you ask. And you're told that you receive not because you ask not, or that you're asking amiss. And that asking amiss, that's what you're doing if you're not enjoying life. Isn't that so?
It is so. It really is so. And so if you really want to begin enjoying life, begin asking for what it is that you desire. Because as you stated, we're always on, so that means we're always asking. Would you agree?
100%. Every word. You understand? I understand that that's really a mind blower to think every word that you think feelingly in yourself is going to be your experience in your future. As within, so without. So the outside, all the world, all the items in the world, it's just a virtual reality. It's out of the mind of man. It all goes away. All of it. Even the bodies, it belongs to the earth. It goes back to the earth. But you will carry on with whatever attitude about life in general that you have. And however long you maintain that attitude of life in general, you will be experiencing it, even if it's life after life after life, time slot after time slot after time slot. You will be experiencing as you think you are. And you're thinking automatically if you're not enjoying life. And that's the difference that makes the difference. Enjoying life or not enjoying life. It's as you think you are. You're on all the time. Isn't that so?
It is so. And I want to go back to a habit that we spoke of, because some people, they're frustrated. They're like, okay, well, Mr. Lindell, how do I change a habit that I'm not happy with?
Just give it up. Look, change your mind, change your world is very, very simple. And that's all you need to, because change your mind changes your world, because God has said so. So it's so super simple that that's what it causes it to be missed, is that it is it's unbelievable that the connection with you and God are one. That's it. He's telling you all the help you need is nearer than hands and feet, but you still have to ask for it. You see, because he gave you choose this day for whatever change you're looking for. But if you're not choosing, then the world around you, your environment will choose for you. And if you're unhappy, that's probably what's happening, wouldn't you say?
I would say, and I want to go back to your answer about changing a habit, and it is simple. So somebody will listen to this broadcast and they'll say, okay, we got to find another teacher that's going to give us something more complicated or a list of steps that we need to follow. But it truly is as simple as changing your mind. And so what you may want to do is practice getting in the habit of thinking one thought and simply changing the thought just to see that you can, or changing a mood or disposition. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, come on. Look, you can be sitting there thinking unlovely things, but if you like, you turn on the radio and get some pleasant music going for a few minutes, and you start listening to, and the next thing you know, the nonsense has passed you by. Yeah. See, it's what you decide, because your say is valid, and you're saying, this is what I decide I'm going to pay attention to for the next half an hour. Well, actually, a couple of minutes will do it, but it'll grow if you'll continue. If, like I said, just be patient with yourself, because I understand when I'm telling you, when I'm saying be patient with yourself, because I know I had a very devastating time keeping that promise to myself. And that's what you must do. You must make a promise to yourself and keep it. After all, you believe God's promises? He promised you something. If you do this, this is what will happen. That's what was choose this day. And you're given whatsoever to choose from. God's not judging what you're doing. If he did, we would none of us be here.
It's true.
Really.
You know, and I like that you were talking about the individual taking charge. Now, understand this. As you're taking charge, just because you start taking charge this very moment and you don't see results 5 minutes from now, it doesn't mean that it's not working. It took some of you 21 years, 31 years, 41 years, 101 years to get where you're at. So understand that this stuff on the without doesn't always appear immediately. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And it's really, to keep it simple that you'll remember what we're saying, it's no different than when you ordered something from a catalog. You know you have it because you ordered it, you paid for it, and you know it's on its way. You can't show it to anybody, but you know that it is yours. Now you will have it. See, it's no different. When you ask God, he told you to ask, and he told you that not only did you not ask, but you ask without really thinking about what you're asking, because it's going to be in your world of experiencing what you're asking. And you get what you expect, not necessarily what you want. That's the problem. If you go there expecting not to receive, that's your answer. And God didn't make a decision that you shouldn't have it or should have it. He let you make the decision. It's you who is in charge of choosing this day. And it's you who has to choose, I am that, for it to be, I am that. Isn't that it?
It is it. And, you know, I want to add to it. You said you get what you expect, not necessarily what you want. And I want to add this. You get what you expect, not what you think you deserve. So if you have an expectation of lack, loss, and limitation, but you say, I deserve wealth, your expectation is going to win out 100% of the time. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You'll always get what you expect, not necessarily what you want, unless they happen to be the same thing. If you're kneeling before God in prayer, what are you thinking about when you're right there at the kneeling? What are you thinking about? What has your attention? Because that's what you're expecting, really. If you're not there feeling the joy of actually having a conversation with God, to ask, believing, receiving, because you're told that's all that is denying you is you not thinking properly when you're asking in prayer. And another thing, you're on all the time. So you're literally praying 24/7. Right?
Absolutely. You know, you were speaking about kneeling before God, and I would challenge you, as opposed to kneeling in posture, kneel in the assumption that you know that you have your end results. Kneel with the expectation living from the end, or as Mr. Lindell stated a moment ago, expecting your manifestation or the thing that you're praying about, not so much the posture of your body. Would you agree?
That's right. And also, since you said body, I'd like to also interject this at the moment. Your body is listening to you. It doesn't need to understand the English or whatever language you're speaking. It understands your feeling, and it operates on how you feel. So if you're joyful, your body's joyful. If you're unlovely, no good report, then the body assumes the same. It can't not do so. you're in charge. And as you think, you are mentally, physically, right now, in this drama, man, in this play of humanity, you're on all the time. If you'll just remember that you're actually build your life of experiencing moment by moment as you think you are. It didn't say as you had thought you are, as you think you are. That's right here, right now. Thinketh. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And someone has asked, well, what's this thinketh thing? That's right here, right now. That's it. As you think you are. Isn't that the story?
It is the story. You know, you said something, I want to tag this on. You said this earlier. You were talking about making a commitment or a promise to yourself. You know, and so understand when you make a deal, a promise with yourself, that's thinking. But the way that you lock that promise in is feeling that it's already so. Keep your commitments to yourself, because if you don't, you begin setting in motion that self cannot trust self. Would you agree?
That's it. That's it. You don't trust yourself. And just the very thought of it. You know, the whole thing is that you're told, blessed is the man that does not condemn himself for that which he has allowed. That's has allowed. And if you'll think upon this, you're actually forgiven. So you have a brand new start right now. But what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Is it habitual? Then you're right back where you started. You gave it up again. I did that again and again and again. But finally, it registered. I actually did remember. And what I remembered, I've probably already forgotten, but that's not the point. The point is that there was a moment when I knew that I knew, and that has driven me to feel after better than the best that I know consistently. And I know you'll be doing the same if you'll only allow yourself. And that is you allowing you. Think only on things that are lovely and of good report. I let you figure out what lovely and of good report is, right?
Absolutely. You know, you said you did it over and over again. We call that repenting. That means changing your mind. You know, a lot of times in the religious context, we say, you know, contrition, and you got to have a broken heart and you got to be crying. No, it simply means changing your mind. So as Mr. Lindell said, he had to do it 70 times 7. He did it repeatedly until it stuck. And so don't get discouraged if at first you try to change a thought and the old thought arises. You keep doing it over and over and over again until it sticks. You agree?
That's it. In other words, it's exactly like what I said. It's like brick by brick, you're building something. That's it. You're building your confidence. Man's faith in God is measured by his confidence in himself. If you have no confidence, there you are. That's its own answer, isn't it?
It is the own answer. So as we're talking about feeling it real, what would you say to the listener in closing?
Hey, it's like you're told. There's only imagination. That's God himself. And he has given you imagination himself. And he's allowing you to choose this day. And it's always this day. So you are choosing whether you're aware you're doing so or not. But you're experiencing it. And if you know what you're experiencing, you can trace it back to when you thought this very idea could happen. And here it is happening. Isn't that so?
It is so. And often happens quite often because most of us are unaware that it's happening. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, look, none of us are aware that we're on all
Absolutely.
the time. We're just not, we just don't function that way because we have been conditioned to think the way we are thinking for years and years and years. And now you want to change, but you're not going to change it overnight. So you have to have patience. And I would say that your patience is number one, because if you can't be patient, you can't understand it. You won't understand it. It's just like when you were a child learning your ABCs or times tables or, how did you learn them? Over and over and over and over until they soaked in enough for you to understand that that's what you wanted to do. And you can do it. That's what you're told. You're told to do it, so you're told by God to do it, so therefore He knows you can do it. And if you say you can't, well, then that's just you denying you, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. We could go on all day, literally, but we're going to be sensitive of your time. So I appreciate you, and I enjoyed the talk, of course.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I really do enjoy it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, sir, it's been a pleasure. We'll talk to you later.
Yes, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right, sir. Bye.
People just want to know what you did to be successful.
The 4 CDs that I have out there, it's all there. If you took any one of the CDs and actually followed through on what you understood there, you could change your mind, change your world. All you have to do is just listen to the CDs. It's always reiteration and reiteration.
I want to go back to the 4 CD set. Go to metaphysicalarttheater.com. We can only mail in the U.S. right now, but for those who are outside the U.S., we can send you a digital bundle with everything, so you'll get the enjoyment without waiting for it in the mail. Matter of fact, those who are in the U.S., if you would rather have the digital copies, we can do that as well. metaphysicalarttheater.com.